Okay, it's 9 o'clock. Good morning. We are lacking one more trustee to have a quorum, so we are going to go ahead and start without calling the meeting to order with our program report, and this month it's a presentation on our transit system report. And Jesse?
Yes, sir. I will be providing a quick presentation on the transit system report. All right, so our first slide, I have no way to control it. All right, so this is our monthly ridership for the month of February. You'll notice that we're just above 34,000, and our average daily ridership for the month of February was right around 1,200. We continue to see that growth on the Rapid Northwest. Our next slide here shows our cumulative monthly ridership. So again, for the month of February, 34,000, increase over last February of about 5%, which was last February was 32,000, almost 33,000. Next slide is our fixed route cumulative monthly ridership. So again, this is for our fixed route system. In the month of February, we saw 187,000. This is a decrease over last year of 13% and a decrease of about 9% for 2023. Next slide. That's fine, we can stay right there. So our average weeknight ridership for February of 2025 was about 323. This is a decrease of 15% over last year and almost a decrease of 10% of 2023. The next slide. Average weekend ridership in February of 2025 being about 3,500 for our fixed route. This is an increase of almost 8% over last year and a decrease of 4% over 2023. Next slide. So this is where it gets interesting. So we talked about this the last time I presented this transit report. So you got to remember when you're thinking about the bus system and you think about fixed route and you think about the rapid, and when you combine them, we're seeing growth across our bus system. So for FY24 July through FY24 November, our average monthly ridership was 242,000. Next slide. When you lump in the rapid, our average monthly ridership is 273,000 for the same time period this year. And then with the next slide, we'll see that our average monthly ridership across that entire time frame being about 256,000. So we're seeing about a 6% increase across the entire system with our fixed route and rapid. Next slide. So with our plus system, we're continuing to see this dip a little bit. So we're our cumulative monthly total being just a little over 3,000. This is a decrease of almost 18% over the previous year and a decrease of almost 13% over 2023. Next slide. Streetcar. Next. So we are continuing to see growth on the streetcar ridership with the month of February being about 15,000. I do want to point out that in February we had that really cold snap that came through with the freezing rain and snow and ice, but we still saw an increase over the previous year of almost 2% and almost a 30% increase over 2023. Next slide. Our average weekday ridership for the streetcar is about 512 for February 2025. This is a 16% increase over 2024 and almost a 60% increase over 2023. So we're continuing to see that growth on the streetcar. The next slide. We saw a slight decrease this year on the average weekend being about 648 for February, again contributing factors being the cold snap. However, it's still an increase of almost 10% over the previous year and almost a 9% increase over 2023. All right, short and sweet. That is the transit report. Happy to take any questions. Appreciate it, Greg. Thank you.
Well, I think February you had 2 weeks of really cold weather.
It was pretty darn chilly.
And
yeah.
So the decrease in ridership on the fixed route was probably attributed to
absolutely
the very cold weather.
Yep.
So we now have a quorum. Thank you all for coming. I'll call the meeting to order. Items from the chairman. We have one new trustee. It's a surrogate trustee for Mayor David Holt, and that's Bailey Sarber. Cyber. And she is taking Steve Hill's place, and we welcome her to the trust. Thank you. Okay. Then item 3 are residents to be heard. We have 3 residents to be heard. I'll go ahead and call up the first one, Larry Hopper. And we're under a time constraint. If you could limit your comments to 3 minutes, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes, sure. 3 minutes. I'll talk fast. Larry Hopper, 6008 Southeast 56th Court in Oklahoma City, 73135 Ward 4. Hey, today I and some other supporters of the Alliance for Public Transportation are here, basically to talk about the Route 15 and 19. We know from today's packet that Embark staff plans to eliminate the Route 19 kind of by July 1st, and we've read the agenda item. We know about that. Really the way the Route 19 has steadily been kind of reduced in service over the years, especially that 3 or 4 hour gap in the middle of the day, it's kind of no wonder that it makes it harder and harder for it to succeed. The APT has not really heard from staff since our May 7th meeting. We do understand there was a meeting last week of the Transportation Committee, but instead of focusing on that or on some of the things that what's wrong with chopping the Route 19, let's talk about some potential ways to mitigate impacts for the 15 and the 19. So basically, and just so you know, our next work group meeting is on Monday, April 7th, so coming up on Monday. There was a good article put in the Midwest City Beacon about a week or so ago about the situation. It really describes it well. I'm going to provide it to your staff person. Your staff already has this because they received it this week. So it has a lot of good details. But basically, to kind of stay on point here, according to Embark's OKC Moves plan, the idea of eliminating the 19 was going to be combined with an extension of the Route 15 to cover basically that whole route. And we're suggesting that that's a great idea, but at least cover, maybe not the whole route, but at least the most active and productive parts of the Route 19, which is to 36 and Spencer. There might be ways to put the Route 15 on detour for a few months, if that's what it takes to kind of figure out what to do. But you have a very, very low-income and minority community out there in Spencer and to the east in Oklahoma City, where Fred Factory Gardens and Mary Mahoney Health is. So neglecting that's not great. We know the county has said that they won't fund the Route 19. Oklahoma City's probably putting $150,000 or more per year into that. And those funds could conceivably be put into expanding that Route 15 in Midwest City as an option to kind of keep providing some service. We think there's probably some more creative solutions that could be used. And it could be that, unfortunately, Fred Factory Gardens and Mary Mahoney may have to, in essence, fend for themselves with some form of microtransit. St. Anthony Hospital, they've commented on this. An excerpt is there saying that ensuring adequate public transportation in eastern Oklahoma County, especially Midwest City, is a key part of their community health strategy for St. Anthony Hospital, Midwest City. They go on to say other things. I'll spare you of that. But here's kind of a very important thing to think. Maybe we should really start seeing the Embark system as a regional system, because it is. And if you think about it, there are no suburbs that directly fund the Zoo Trust, the airport, the lakes, and the housing authority. And so maybe we shouldn't be expecting a dollar for dollar support from the east part of the metro, because the 15 and the 19 were part of a system. If I'm out of time, I understand. I think I might have a few more seconds. But again, the basic point that we're trying to make is that the Route 15 is already every 80 minutes. Perhaps what needs to be done is add some funding to that, even if it's just Oklahoma City funding, to make it to where it can run every 40, 45 minutes in the morning to get people where they need to go, make the route more efficient, and be a little more proactive that way, and not just completely throw out this prospect of service to eastern Oklahoma County.
Thank you, Larry.
So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we also have a Laverne Peaches Weller to speak. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Good.
Good. I'll be quick. Good morning. My name is Peaches, and I serve as treasurer for the Alliance for Public Transportation. I also work for a nonprofit called Possibilities, where we focus on fostering dialogue and collaboration within communities. I was inspired to speak today after working with the Sequoia neighborhood and Sisu. At Possibilities' last meeting, which Councilor Cooper attended and spoke at, I was struck by the importance of communication and being a driving force for positive change. Seeing firsthand how the city has not only been working on behalf of its citizens, but also engaging with them on a meaningful level, for me, reinforced the power of open conversation. I want to applaud Councilor Cooper and all of you for your dedication to community advocacy. That brings me to why I'm here on behalf of APT. For the past few months, APT has been reaching out to Embark to include them in a conversation about potential changes to routes 15 and 19, as well as suggestions for work groups that have been brainstormed. At last month's City Hall meeting, Larry, myself, and other board members of APT formally requested acknowledgement of correspondence sent by APT to Embark, and unfortunately, we have yet to receive a response. And while I don't personally ride routes 15 or 19, I do ride the Rapid and 23, 8, and 3. And as someone whose work revolves around creating spaces for meaningful conversations, I know that the first step towards solutions is simply engaging with dialogue. And that's why I'm here today, to encourage that conversation to happen. Bye. If there is a specific person at Embark that we should be reaching out to, I would be more than happy to facilitate that connection so APT can be a part of a productive discussion. And I deeply appreciate your time, your dedication, and your work that you do to make our city a better place. I hope we can move forward together in ensuring that public transportation remains responsive to the needs of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Peaches. We have a third person, Bill Tennell, to speak.
Thank you, trustees. My name is Bill Tennell. I work for Catholic Charities, but I'm also on the board of APT with Larry and with Peaches. I'll refrain from public commentary. This obviously isn't a public commentary type of forum. I see we have on the agenda setting up a meeting for public commentary for the elimination of Route 19. So I won't really give public commentary on that. I would only really supplement my colleagues' comments with one thing, and that is, if at all we can, in the public commentary hearings setting up moving forward, set it up to address one issue that hasn't quite been discussed here, and that is that the elimination of Route 19, which I think, given the county budgeting scenario, is inevitable. I don't think that's really much of a choice. But one of the critical things about Route 19 is that not only does its direct service, but, and I don't have the map here, but I'm sure you have it in your head, I hope you do. Route 19 also serves as the connection point between Route 2 moving east along 23rd and 15 moving north from Midwest City. The elimination of Route 19 only, and if that's all we do, it not only eliminates that direct service, but it implicitly is going to decrease the efficiency of the entire system, because then we have two deadlines that aren't going to meet with one another. So I would like, for purposes of whatever public commentary we do in the future, possibly organize it around the possibility of, in conjunction with eliminating 19, which in some level has to happen, extending Route 2 east in some format, extending Route 15 north in some format, so they can meet probably somewhere along 23rd and Douglas, something like that, so we can at least retain that connectivity. And if the meetings moving forward can be structured to at least reflect and solicit commentary on that issue, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Jesse, have you considered that, or are you looking into that possibility of connecting those two routes?
Yeah. So Chip's got a presentation that he'll present on with regards to Route 19 and 24. And we can definitely talk more about the possibilities of how to supplement service to that area for sure. And I'm sure that'll definitely come up during the public comment hearings. Yep,
Sounds like something worth considering.
yep, absolutely.
Okay.
A quick question.
Robert?
For the routes to Norman, Norman does provide some funding for those routes, correct?
So for the Route 24, the commuter route between Oklahoma City and Norman, we fund that directly.
I see.
Okay. Moving on to item 4 is approval of our minutes from the March 7th, 2025 COPTA board meeting. Is there a motion to approve? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Okay, there are no consent items, so we're going to move on to individual consideration items. Item A, B, C, and D are all approval for requests for proposals. And Jesse, would you explain those to us?
Yes, I will. I'll go quickly. So item A is an RFP for actuarial services. So this is pretty standard item. We use these services to monitor the overall health of our COPTA pension planning, and this also includes the funding ratio. Item B is an RFP for our tire lease program. So it may come to a surprise to a lot of folks that we actually lease our tires. It's not like your vehicle when you go and buy your tires directly. So we actually lease our tires, and we also lease the service of changing out our tires, and we have staff from this RFP on site at night taking care of those tires, monitoring the tire usage and things like that. And then with item C, this is an RFP for marketing services. So this will help provide strategic planning, consultation in creative and media strategies, plus enhance COPTA's marketing, advertising, and public relations and communication efforts. And item D, request for proposals, RFP for human resource consultant services. So this is specifically for consulting services for leadership and executive coaching, team building, leadership and supervisor training, workforce development, and planning. So lots of RFPs this morning.
Would there be any questions or comments about any of these 4? If not, we'll approve them individually. And so this is item A, which is request for approving the request for proposals for actuarial services. It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. And we'll move on to item B, which is approval for the request for proposals for the tire leasing program and authorizing the administrator to advertise. It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Item C is a request for proposal for marketing services. There's a motion to approve, and it's been seconded. Please vote electronically. And then item D is approval for the request for proposals for human resource consultant services. It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Okay, item E is to adopt a resolution approving the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan for Embark Bus version 4 and approve the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan for the Embark OKC Streetcar version 5 for the Oklahoma City bus and streetcar operations. Eugene?
Morning, everybody. Yep, there we go. Cool. Welcome to our long-awaited, highly anticipated approval of our safety plans. Just trying to build it up a little bit there. Before I get started, I just want to give a shout out to Molly Rainey. She's our Deputy Chief Safety Officer. She does an amazing job putting these plans together, making sure the streetcar plan is doing what the bus plan is doing. Any change to those, especially when the definitions cascades down into many, many different SOPs, and she keeps track of all of that and does an amazing job. So the board, this is just a review. Board role and responsibility, promote our safety as a core value, which is one of our core values is be safe. Support our accountable executive with any resources needed, especially to create a strong safety management system. So we do appreciate that and thank you for that. and then review and approve our safety plan, which is what we're doing now. So these are the changes here. We're going to go through these individually. This just basically shows which ones pertain to bus, which ones pertain to streetcar. So the first two related to bus and streetcar. So the first one there is related to the National Public Transportation Safety Plan. So in the bottom left, these are the targets that we used to track, that we were tracking, for them. Over on the right, in the bottom right, all the ones in red are the ones that they added that we need to start tracking now. And then just going back up to the top, so we have to do this for each of our modes. So for fixed route, streetcar, and paratransit, and it's basically on a 3-year rolling average. So it says there in 27, we will add targets for the BRT. This slide here is a little busy, so this one is relating to the safety plan itself. So there were numerous updates to definitions. We won't go through all of those. So we had to establish a joint labor management safety committee, which we already had, we were already doing, and that involves a frontline committee, involves employees that are on the front line. We also needed to establish a risk reduction program to work on reducing the number of the rates for accidents, injuries, and assaults on transit workers. And so we get 1% of money from our grants that goes to security. So we also get 0.75% that has to go towards safety. So if we don't meet any of those targets on the previous slide, then we have to use that safety money specifically towards something to get us back under the target. Assure, our training program includes our maintenance personnel and de-escalation training, which we were doing that anyway. Address strategies to minimize exposure to infectious diseases. So this came up all from COVID, so we now have a plan on how to handle infectious diseases. And then this last one here is for streetcar only, and it's kind of a big one. It has to do with the risk-based inspection. So this gives ODOT, which is our state safety oversight, this gives them authority to enter our property at any time to do an inspection that they feel they need to do. So working with them, so they're going to do 4 a year on us. There are going to be 2 that are going to be announced, and then 2 that will be unannounced. This has to do with our training program. So again, there were some updates to the definitions. We had to establish a point of contact, which we already had, which is Molly, and then we have to report semi-annually. We were doing it annually. They updated it to do it twice a year. And then they also added a class that we need to do to meet the requirements. And then these are just some updates to the program standard. Again, changes to some definitions. They updated the 2-hour notification, so whenever there is an accident that meets the requirements for 2-hour notification, previously we had to call them. Even if it was 2 o'clock in the morning, we had to call somebody in ODOT and let them know that there's an accident. Now we can just do that with an email. And again, it talks about the risk-based inspections, so we have that added into our safety plan as well. And then this is basically the timeline. We are at the board approval, coming in here to the finish line. Any questions?
Are there any questions on the safety plan?
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gene. Okay, do we have a motion to adopt the resolution approving these plans? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Item F is adoption of a resolution authorizing a public hearing to receive comments on the proposed elimination of Route 19 and 24 service reduction. I think that this happens at our next meeting. So, but we have to adopt a resolution.
That's right. Yeah. So Chip is here to give a quick presentation, giving you a little bit more information about the elimination of Route 19 and 24, or sorry, the elimination of Route 19 and reduction in 24. But really quickly, just wanted to point out that we are following our process as far as when it comes to items like reduction or elimination of major service changes, right? So bringing the item to the board before it goes public and going through that public hearing process. And so we're making sure that we're following our Title VI process.
Yes, okay.
Yep.
Good morning. So yeah, we're following the process outlined in the Title VI plan I was presented on here last time. So we'll go through this. So just a little bit of background. Route 19 provides hourly service during the week. Oklahoma County recently had provided funding, helped provide funding for that route for the last 20 plus years. And there's a state bill, 1931, that prevented them from helping us support that route financially. Route 19 is our lowest performing route. Last year, this is FY24 data, we had 12,000 annual passenger trips. We have 100,000 as our average per route. We have 46 average customers per day, and we have 439 average per route system-wide, and then 4 riders per service hour, and we have 12 riders per service hour as a system-wide average. Route 19, as part of this proposal, we will be proposing the elimination of Route 19 in this proposal. Route 24, we serves Norman and Oklahoma City and the OU Health Sciences Center. Currently provides 2-hour frequency from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. We did try to streamline this route a little bit, help improve travel times, on-time performance, reliability for our customers. And so that is our second lowest performing route. Again, 19,000 annual trips, 74 daily average, and 4.9 riders per service hour in the same averages, system-wide averages as the other slides. So our proposal is to kind of focus our service, reduce the amount of revenue hours we provide per day by about roughly half. We'll concentrate the service in the morning and the afternoon peak. This is our ridership data from our farebox system. We broke that ridership down per hour for a whole fiscal year. So you can see there's a peak in the morning and the evening periods. So we're eliminating those periods of the day with a little bit less performance. As mentioned earlier, we are following the process outlined in our plan. So today we are hoping for the approval we're announcing the hearing that will hold next month. We'll also, before that, be holding a community meeting. Dates and times, locations are here on this slide. We encourage everyone to come out, provide feedback on the proposed changes. And then the hearing would be on May 2nd at the next board meeting. Again, we encourage, if you're not able to make the meeting, we encourage everybody to reach out to us in any way that you can, whether by phone or by email, or writing us a letter. That's a quick overview of the proposal.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments about this?
Thanks for your presentation. The too long didn't read for me is that I just don't support this idea, but to help everyone understand why I don't support this idea, and everyone on this board is, and Chip and Embark folk, we're all a bit expert on the best practices when it comes to public transportation, so I'm not gonna, with my remarks, pretend you all don't know, right? We all know that. Well, let me just ask a question. Lincoln, which is route, what is the route? Is that 22 on Lincoln, 18? So 18 was an hour frequency as recently as when?
That was 2019, I think. It was 2020, I think.
And then in our budget, we increased funding for that route.
For routes 9 and 18, we're able to increase their frequency to every 30 minutes.
And what was the result in ridership when we invested in that?
Frequency, as we've seen again with the BRT, frequency is a main driver of ridership. Routes 9 and 18, the ridership and riders per service hour did increase after the service enhancement.
Does everyone remember the percent increase?
I'd have to go back and, I don't know off the top of my head.
I remember. Does anyone else remember? Anyone out there? It was like 80%. 80. That's bonkers, right? But all it does is it validates what all of us know from going to annual public transportation conferences, from your fields of study, for your volunteer work, your work with Embark. We know how a public transportation system should work. It has to have that 10 to 15 minute frequency. And even when we got Route 18 to 30, ridership increased by 80%. Not even the industry standard, 80%. That's the demand. But we weren't providing the service. Why weren't we providing the service? Because going all the way back, decades before most of us were born, right? This city just said, we're not going to invest in public transportation. Why didn't they want to invest in public transportation? Y'all, again, all know the story. Because I know I've definitely highlighted it up here. It all goes back to Montgomery and the bus boycott in Alabama. And when black people started being able to ride the bus sitting next to white people, governments all across the South said that will do, and we're not going to fund this anymore. This city tore up its streetcar, just took it away, replaced it with buses, and never funded the buses properly until the good people of this board. Jim Couch started us on this direction. Laura Johnson, who we just applauded, contributed to this work. Mayor Holt, in my memory, is the first mayor to call public transportation a, quote, core service in a speech. Mayor Cornett understood this work, by the way. He is the one who, as you will recall, put me on this board. I say all this stuff. Y'all know it's all true. You know it in your heart. And I'm sure it must have hurt like the devil to propose eliminating and reduction of service for these two routes, because we all know better. But we were tasked with a 4.5, all departments tasked with a 4.5% reduction in their budget and a 1.5 for fire and police, because we're about to try and pass an austerity budget. I have said a million times that is the wrong approach, because if we can better connect people, our people, to public transportation, and again, you already know this, so it's just beating a dead horse, but I have to say it. The more of our people who can ride these routes, the more they can connect to the sales tax contributions. They fill our coffers more, and then we don't have to reduce services and ask our departments to do these things. I mean, one of my favorite people in all the world passed away just days before my cat passed away earlier this year, the director, David Lynch, and he just says, keep at it. And so I'm gonna keep at saying this message until we ultimately get this right. So, I mean, I guess I will support today sending that. I mean, I even struggle voting yes to have a public hearing about it. A no vote almost makes me feel, though, like I'm, not interested in democracy, right? Like to have a voice for the people to come make their voice heard that day, which of course I do, right? But it's just really hard to sign off on anything related to the reduction of service where a predominantly black population, a predominantly working class white population lives. So that's just really difficult. I just want everyone to understand the implications, let alone the optics of what we are doing right now. So that is, I think, I have two requests before this comes back to a real vote. And God help us before this makes its way to council too. Because I'm almost at a place where I don't even want to, if this is part of the city's budget, where I would have a very difficult time voting yes on the city budget with this reduction. And I'd be happy to go tell the good people of Ward 2 why I did it. So my ask are, and I think Director Rush has already alluded to this possibility, but Dr. Marilyn Dillon, if she can figure out for us, there's 47 people, you said, who ride that daily. What does engagement with those 47 people sound like, look like, to find out how we can, that's not a big number, as we're pointing out, so we're going to reduce the service. What does it look like to figure out how to make sure that those people are connected to where they need to be? Like surgically, how do we do that sort of outreach? How can we do some sort of, almost like paratransit type connection to Mary Mahoney? And I just take it very personally, too, as I was sitting here listening to all of this, because I pulled up the map. I was like, Mary Mahoney, what do I know about Mary Mahoney? Well, I grew up in Midwest City. Right after I came out of the closet, I'm going to go on about this, I'm sorry. Right after I came out of the closet, I committed to doing an AIDS test every 6 months. I was terrified. And where did I get that service? Mary Mahoney. And there are a lot of us out there like that who, I was low income. So my other ask, I'm sorry, one more ask, and I've been saying it for a while now, and I was almost like fantasizing about it as I was listening to the safety thing. I just pulled up Route 23. 23 should be every 15 minutes, and it should just be constantly out to Lake Overholser, out to this part of our city. It is the state capital, it is Uptown, it is OCU, it is the Windsor District, it is the Asian District. There's about to be a music venue at the Gold Dome. Like, that should just be a constant, every 12 to 15 minutes connection. I'd hop on it 2 blocks from where I live. I'd walk there. And we don't because it's not reliable right now. We have to wait every 30 minutes, but we've done such good work by getting it to run to midnight.
Yep.
So those are my asks. I got to get 23 to 15 or less, and then we got to figure out how we do some sort of micro-transit out there if we're going to do this, but I can't support it otherwise.
Got it. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do you want to say something?
Well, no, I'll just, to answer your question there, Trustee, we are committed to find alternative ways to the Mary Mahoney Center, and that will be part of our public comment. And we'll bring back other possible ways with our May item.
And our level 2 Embark Plus.
That's right.
Does service all that area in eastern Oklahoma County.
Yep.
As an alternative for our seniors and people with disabilities.
Absolutely.
I understand.
Yep.
It will take care of those people.
Yep. Can I make a recommendation? I saw Larry just come up to drop something off. Larry, if it's okay, we're going to lose quorum in like 2 minutes. Is it okay if we hold your comment to this until we can wrap up a few things? Sure. I really appreciate it, sir. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so item F then, is there a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the public hearing? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically.
Do you need to hear? Do you lose quorum if I leave?
Okay.
Okay, motion passes. Item G is approving amendment number 1 and change order number 1 with the Manhattan Road and Bridge Company on the First American Museum Riverboat Landing at a cost increase of $77,726.82.
Yeah, so this is a pretty minor item in context to the overall project. So this item is a change order amendment to set up some additional electrical access for the landing. So again, this is a overall scope. It's a very minor change order amendment, and I appreciate the team making that happen.
Were there any questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve the amendment and the change order?
It's
been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Item passes. Item H is ratifying and approving amendments number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and adopting resolution extending the time to award contract to Cade Construction for the renovation of the Embark Administrative Building located at 2000 South May at a cost of $2,884,976.96 and approving the contract and bonds and assigning PSI Intertrek as testing lab.
Yeah, so this item has been in the making since 2021, actually. We've been working with A&E firms to get drawings put together for the remodel of our South May facility. As I'm sure most of you are aware, we have outgrown that facility. With this remodel, basically a complete gut, and where they're going to come in and make it much more efficient facility for us, and we'll be able to use it for a few more years. I do want to point out that Austin Reed is in the audience here with Cade Construction. I appreciate their effort in bringing this item, providing a bid that actually came in under budget.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments on this item? If not, is there a motion to ratify and approve the item? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes.
2 more minutes.
Item I and J are both resolutions authorizing and directing the municipal council to prepare and file any and all necessary paperwork to effectuate settlement on behalf of the Central Oklahoma Transportation and Parking Authority without admitting liability in the claim of Austin Tunnell and/or enter into executive session. And I believe that, do we need a motion to enter into executive session? Is there a motion? You need an oral vote, okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. We will stand to be in executive session. So we are back from executive session. Can I hear a motion to adopt the resolution? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote This is on item I. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. We're going to head and table item J, and we have now lost our quorum. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to review our financial reports. And Suzanne, would you like to go ahead and do that? Okay, we can do that. Would you mind just a second? Larry, do you want to go ahead and make comment?
Sure, and I pledge 60 seconds to say that.
Okay.
So, it is about funding, of course. And, there are ways to try to find, even with the 4.5% cut, a way to fund these. And one might be that looking at those 20 routes that do run every half hour, there could be some midday trips that could be reduced, making that time available to, say, the 19 or even the 26, but especially the 19 or expanding the 15. There may be some capital expenditures that could be postponed this year, or at least till mid-year. And then finally, looking at how much staff we really have. In the 5 years since I've been gone, administrative staff has grown considerably, and it could be that by attrition, you might find some savings that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now we'll have our financial report.
All right, it's been a very fun day.
Yeah.
Well, good morning, everyone. So I'm here to speak with you about our financial report for 8 months into our fiscal year ending February 28th. So if you'd like to follow along, do I use this mouse to click? Are we doing that? Okay. So we will be on page 2 of the Transportation Operations Report. So overall summary is our expenditures have exceeded revenues by $602,000, and our year-to-date revenues are $29,555,000, which exceeds our budget by $268,000 or 1%. And then our year-to-date expenditures are just over $30 million. They're under budget by 130 or 0.5%. So just highlighting a few things for you this morning. So our fare box and fare media sales, I've been highlighting this pretty routinely now, really just combining those two together to show our overall budget for fares is $1.5 million, and our year-to-date actuals are $1.4 million. So we do have a bit of a variance, about $100,000 variance, so we're about 93% of what we had forecast at this point in time of the year. If we do look at prior year actuals, the combined prior year actuals were $1.26 million, so we are definitely ahead of last year by about 11%. So our ridership increasing does show our fare revenues increasing as well. And then on the federal grants line, I wanted to update you on that. So this is, of course, one of our really important funding sources for our operations in terms of the preventative maintenance, reimbursement, our paratransit services, and then also some staff time through our program. So we've collected $4.3 million so far, which you'll see is right on track with our budgeted revenue. But I also want to point out, if you look at the numbers, that's about 50% of our overall budget, but we are 8 months into the year, so we kind of more be looking at being at 67% there. I wanted to point that out, that we're going to start taking some additional draws, get caught up on our revenue collection. So we are still on track to finish the year collecting $8.5 million. So we foresee no revenue gaps there, which is an important funding source, like I mentioned. So we will see that $8.5 million. And then down at the bottom, the other agencies' participation. So this is one that's got several line items in it, so I'll just remind you again, what is other agencies' participation? So one of the things that is in this line is our Route 15 and Route 19, which we just spoke about. And so I would want to point out to you with what's on the table right now with Route 19, it was mentioned that the funding source for OK County did go away this year. So we had budgeted $125,000 of revenue from Oklahoma County. Every year for, over 20 years, we've been bringing a board item for approval that's approving that interlocal agreement, which approves that revenue coming into us to fund the costs that go outside of into Oklahoma County. So we won't be realizing that revenue this fiscal year. That's $125,000. So I wanted to point that out, that we do anticipate, and we know we'll have a funding shortage in terms of that revenue line of $125,000. Other things in that, just to remind you, are some of the mobility management programs. So those are based on they're on an expense basis. So a lot of that is the on-demand. So if there's no on-demand, then there's no expense, then there's no revenue. And so we are trailing behind a little bit on the revenue there, but we're also trailing behind on the expenses budgeted. We have to include enough revenue and expenses to have that budget authority, but it doesn't mean that we'll have all of those expenses and therefore not all of the revenue. So that's just a nuance I wanted to point out to you all. So we're 8% below budget there. But you'll see overall, if you look at the total revenue, like I mentioned before, we're really just spot on with where we thought we'd be this year with our revenue collections. So we'll continue, of course, to monitor that and make sure we continue to stay on track with our revenues. So with our, with our expenditures, so I'll highlight a couple of those for you. So our personal services, again, this is one I've been highlighting really the last several months for you all. Of course, that's one of our highest cost items in our budget. Right now, we are at $19.2 million, which is a $725,000 variance, 4%. I looked back on prior months. We've been at a 4% overage on personnel costs for the last 4 months. So we really are kind of keeping that same 4% level. I've explained this a few times, but I'll just reiterate, a lot of this has to do with our overtime. And whenever we put our budget together, our budget is all based on the number of positions in our budget. And that gets loaded in with how much those positions cost us. But what is a variable is our overtime. We have people that are on FMLA or a leave of absence, or maybe we get some additional shuttle service that we need to provide. We have to use overtime. We have to pay people overtime to do that work or to cover work for people gone. And so our overtime does drive our overage on our budget. So some of that overtime is actually reimbursed by revenue. We have for example, the shuttle service that we're providing for the Thunder games. That's some additional revenue coming in, but it does reflect in our expenses as some additional overtime. So some of that is recouped, but not most of it, just some of it is recouped. So our supplies and fuel, though, you'll see we have quite a positive variance here. We're under budget significantly in our supplies and fuel. If you combine those numbers together, we're overall 10% below budget, or 9% on supplies, and you'll see that we're 68% expended of our fuel. So we have quite a bit of savings there. So the bottom line on our expenditures, because of the savings in supplies, is that we are about 0.5% below budget. So we, from a budgetary standpoint, are on track overall with our transportation expenditures. I'll move us over to parking operations. So our revenues exceed expenditures by $1.5 million. Our revenues year to date are $4.7 million, which is exceeding our budget by nearly $500,000 or 12%. Our year to date expenditures are $3.2 million, and they're over budget by $95,000 or 3%. So on page 4 of your report in front of you, I'll highlight the monthly contracts and the events and transient parking line items here. The monthly contracts, we show that we're 8% ahead of where we thought we would be this time of year with our revenue collections. I pointed this out before, but I'll just remind that when we set our budget up, we were anticipating less revenue in our monthly contracts. With seeing the reduction in our sales tax, reduction in our budgets in the FY25 budget process, as a reminder, we had to take a 2.5% cut. We thought we might see less parkers downtown of our employees, and so we did forecast a little bit less revenue. Well, that's not materialized, thankfully. We've continued to collect our revenues there, and so we're actually outperforming our budgeted revenue in the monthly contracts. And then over in events and transient parking, I would point out we're 8% ahead of where we thought we'd be this point in time of the year. We are a little bit below where we were last year. I looked at our events, which is in your your parking program report in your packet, and our events that we, if you look at year to year, this point in time last year and this point in time this year, we're at a 2% variance. So we're just under by 2% of our event parking. So we're really pretty close to where we were at last year with our number of events. And then from a percentage standpoint, we're about 1% less than prior year. So we're really pretty close to being level from last year. And then on the expenditure side of parking operations, we have one just I'll highlight for you since it's such a significant variance. You'll see the payments to the city parking fund. And this is one of those nuances on our financial reports, so I'll refresh you on this. This is where we pay city employees out of this fund. We have to keep them, they're paid separately from a different funding source, so we have to make a transfer to this parking fund. and some of the chargebacks are also paid from this. So you'll see we are over by 103,000 or 60%. With our new financial system, really kind of boils down to processes. So the way things used to be booked and recorded and the timing is one way, and that's how we reflected our forecast. But in actuality, how things are now being booked in the new system, the timing is different. So that's what's causing the variance. But overall, we are actually right on target with our expenditures in this line item. I'll give you just a brief overview on river cruises. So our revenues exceed expenditures by $89,000. Our revenues are $673,000, which exceeds our budget by $24,000 or 4%. And our year-to-date expenditures are $584,000, and so those are under budget by $13,000 or 2%. Streetcar operations, which is page 7, our revenues exceed expenditures by $791,000. Our year-to-date revenues are about $5 million, and that exceeds our budget by $232,000 or 5%. And our year-to-date expenditures are $4.2 million, and they're under budget by close to $500,000 or 10%. So on the revenue side, page 7, I'll point out that streetcar fares our streetcar fares are about 16% under budget, $10,000. And really, when it comes to fares and ridership and all those things, our ridership is up from last year. And so you'll see we do have an increase in our fares from prior year, not a whole lot, but $1,700 ahead of where we were at last year. We know fares, and we've talked about this before, is not a one-for-one ridership up, fares up because of the fact people buy universal passes, or perhaps on the half-price sale, they're buying like monthly passes or what have you. So they really don't line one for one. But I would point out that we've got our agreement with the CVB, and we'll continue to see some revenue from that agreement that also brings in a lot of ridership from conventions. And so our ridership can go up from those conventions, but that doesn't mean that we'll see a dollar for dollar on the fare revenue. Overall, though, you'll see that we are outperforming where we thought we'd be this time of year on our revenues for streetcar. I would anticipate at the end of this year, we will collect all of this revenue, with the exception, of course, the fares is a little bit variable, but not a very significant percentage of our overall budget. And then on the expenditure side for streetcar, I'll just highlight for you the services and fees. And we've talked about this one a few times this year as well. So it's really the same reason that's causing this 25% variance. We're negative $175,000. Two contributing factors, one of them being insurance was more expensive than what we had budgeted. And the second one being our energy cap, which we've talked about that before quite a bit too. That was not included in our budget. We now have revenue coming in to offset that expense. So we anticipate we'll be bringing a budget amendment to our finance committee in May to really just recalibrate our budget and make sure we have the budget authority for the additional revenue that we received for energy cap, and then also recalibrate those expenditures. So I'm happy to report at this time, based on some great work that our finance manager, Christina Hankins, and her staff have done, our year-end forecasts, we're looking okay from the standpoint of we're not going to be in a place where we'll have to find additional funding. We're going to make it. We just need to correct our budget in terms of the energy cap, which is really just kind of a technical piece of budget authority. So those are my comments on our financial report for the month of February, and happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Suzanne?
If I also may introduce a new staff member that we have, Candy Thompson here. She's our new projects planner, and she is a sign of the growth that we are continuing to see with Embark and the capital projects that we have to manage. So she is here to help us get those projects managed and really help us streamline our processes for managing projects as we continue to grow and continue to have more and more projects. So I'd like to just welcome her to our team.
Thank you. Okay. We have on our agenda, we have heard the transit report, and so we're to items from individual trustees. Anything?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah, make sure I have my mic on. First, I'd just like to appreciate all the trustees that are here today. I appreciate us being able to have a quorum today. Clearly, we had a lot of items for individual consideration, and by all of you being here, we're able to conduct that business. So really, really appreciate you guys being here. That's it. Just really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you.
Okay. And again, I thank you all for being here today also, and We already adjourned with losing our quorum, so we will see you next month. Thank you.